let's dive into today's strategy session. I mean, you got some really, really clear, focused questions here, and I'm going to be able to help you tremendously with all of this. So your goal for the next 24 months is to basically how to brand the landscape. Is it an agency? Is it a consultancy? Is it a content site? Or is it all three?
It's all three. So I think where the branding question comes in is, as I said last time, I set up DS Creative, and that was all about me freelancing and everything. And I think that would be the awesome brand to take on as a brand consultant, right? If I'm going to stay and really understand the power in today's market of, I don't care if you're in real estate or you're an accountancy, of actually self-branding yourself to put out content to therefore leverage your business. Mm-hmm. It makes sense for me to, keep DS Creative as that consultancy. From the agency, that's slightly different because that's me and Kate, and that's why I don't want to name the agency anymore. And why we mentioned last week around not something inside me is not sitting right with that being the right name for the agency, because it's not just about me. So we're, doing naming and stuff at the moment for that. I think we've sort of settled on something through, a bit like yourself. We've got sort of other mentors and other coaches at the moment. And I think we've sort of settled on a name, Skipper and Skipper, which is kind of like a bit Saatchi and Saatchi-esque, but it's landed and it's sitting really well, and it's inclusive, and it gets Kate ownership of that as well, So, and that's going to be health and wellness, a health and wellness agency. Right. So then the content site is all about, and I said this last time, that's a 2-year, 5-year, where do we want to be in 5 years' time around creating a community of our target market. So, we can create a community around it, and then we're going to happens to have an agency behind the scenes of that, able to service that community. That to me is just a bit of a no-brainer in today's landscape of how we get those things. So I think where your ultimate value is going to really come in is from the earliest of days. No one over here in the UK, and I think I said this on our discovery call, is really owning that brand consultancy coaching. Yes, I've been able to do that as a freelancer, but that's more of a creative director going in as a creative consultant to go into agencies that necessarily don't have people in those positions and run their teams, or agencies who have younger teams and need someone more senior to come in and take the lead on bigger stuff. So that's been really brilliant, but I want to get to your point of actually being able to turn that into a business now that I'm out of the freelance or out of the working for other agencies sort of world and doing things for myself. And so I think, just to sort of get your idea on how they sort of sit, because it is three different things. Yep. And I'm sure you'll be going to DS Creative, perfect for Duncan Skipper, the consultant. And the consultancy side, not muddling the agency side, if that makes sense.
Yep. No, I get it. So let's get into question number one. The question was, when you started shifting your business from pure design towards consultancy and coaching, with the execution arm still there, meaning I was consulting, but I was still offering the service, the creative service, right?
Which you still do, yep.
Right. In the early days, what did that landscape look like? Well, I'll be honest with you, it looked like a complete mess. It was a complete mess because it was tough to build the team at the same time and deliver a quality outcome. And so what I was trying to do simultaneously was train my team and really get comfortable with consulting and coaching. So here's what I did. And entrepreneurship and the people that you meet through your journey, they're like stepping stones. Each experience is very unique, and it leaves you a valuable lesson at the end of it. So one of the things I realized was I wasn't a great strategist. I was a designer who made things pretty, right? And then I realized very quickly that that's a commodity, and that people are really looking for the strategy. So I quickly said to myself, who can I bring on board? Who can I partner with? Who can I team up with to help bring in that strategy piece so I can stay focused on design and start to build out my team while offering consulting and strategy as a service. So I had a mentor at the time, and he knew a strategist. And that strategist was pretty good at what he did. It was pretty good at what he did. And so my mentor hooked us up. We had a couple conversations, and I said, do you want to do sort of a 50-50 split here? You kind of come on as a freelance consultant, I guess, for lack of better words. And for clients that need some strategy, I could bring you on and, we'll split the profit 50-50. And he said, sure. So we did that for close to a year. And what I did was I learned a lot about strategy. And this guy was very good. So he basically mind mapped everything. And so I started to understand the questions that he asked and how he sort of mapped out everything. And I started to model the process.
Yeah, good man. Yep.
Right. And then what happened was I started to really pick up on that strategy quite a bit and started to now implement it myself. Because I said to myself, why would I give up 50% of my profits, right? If I can now do this on my own. And so eventually what we did was we sort of split, and he continued to do his thing and I did mine. And, now I offered consulting and strategy on my own because I understood the process. I understood what questions need to be asked to get that strategy and execute that strategy so that we can now design off of it and create a great result for the client, right? So it's bringing somebody on and really learning the ins and outs of strategy and being able to, now if you have all of that already, then you can skip that part. But it's really understanding what goes into strategy, what goes into proper diagnostics in order to deliver the outcome with quality, right? So that's what that looked like. Question?
No, that makes perfect sense. I think, it's taken away, the wider team you have at the moment, like I sort of said, and looking at, how you mentioned last time that one of the first hires you made was the personal assistant. So I guess where the pain points might come in is around for us is leveraging our time, so I am in designing, whereas I think over the years, particularly the last 7 of my career, working at the top levels of the strategic process, you are exactly like you said, you can't help but learn by those around you, and if you surround yourself by people who are better than you, they're only going to rub off. So, I'm the creative partner, Kate's the strategic partner. She's grown up in strategy, so that's her side. So between us, we have a really good offering for that. I think as we grow, it's getting that landscape underneath so that I'm not doing the groundwork, which we're only early. I'm so lucky, I guess, to be able to start this business and be able to do the doing, but that's not a sustainable model. Like where our value is best is on that strategy and that higher level. So it's kind of working out what those real first hires are at the moment. Like clearly we have design. We're lucky to live in an industry that we can freelance and get people in and out, but it sort of has pain points to it with that as well. Like there's nothing worse than getting a freelancer in, let's say for 2 weeks, you've got a week of hiatus in the middle because you need to go back to the client and things are waiting, and then it kicks back in again and that person's now no longer available. So you've got to get another person in to pick up. And it's just, even running studios and running teams, I've never really liked the freelance model. Obviously, it's something I have to use as we start our own business because we can't afford just to have 2 or 3 full-time staff. Last week we had 4 designers in the office. That sort of thing's awesome, but it was in at a time, and this week it's just Kate and I. But partnering, I think, is probably the better word. Like, you've partnered with your strategist. I'm sure you've got an ongoing development partner, and it's creating those sort of partnerships and looking at what those were like at the start, because you have obviously a big external team. Yeah. We want to keep that from the agency side in-house, and therefore from my consultancy side, I'll have the staff to be able to do it for me as well. But it's that, it's those first couple of hires, those first handoffs. And as a creative, you'd know it's all very exciting getting off and doing the strategy, which is, I think, once you've grown, the more fulfilling side of it anyway, than just the pretty picture for the sake of pretty pictures. But as a craftsman, I'm struggling to let go 100%, or if I do let go, I get that work back at the end of the day. And the design might be beautiful, the typography might be beautiful, but I'm a craftsman as far as retouching goes. I'm really, really good when it comes, like, there's not much I can't do when it comes to photo manipulation and stuff. Mm-hmm. And so there's a lack of quality that I'm getting in. So there's quite often a few times I've even caught myself since we last spoke, picking up work when it's been sent through. At the end of the day, it's obviously got to go to client the next day or the day after, and I'm, in meetings all the next day. So I'm up until 2-3 in the morning, finessing things, which is a really hard one to let go of. Now, one of those 2 times, I probably could have presented it and just pitched it as, this isn't the finessed final artwork, and put it that way to the client. But I knew their expectations were really high, and they wanted, they had an eye for not necessarily the finer details of the pixel perfection, but the quality wasn't there. There is a difference between whacking any old image in or whacking an image and treating it, changing it. It just transforms what that design is. And at the moment, I'm having to pick up too much of that. So the ideal is to step off. And that's where I think, how have you managed to, take yourself away from that and build the trust in those people?
Yeah. So one of the things that, this is great. And this is going to give you a lot of value today. One of the things that my mentor told me was that you have to invest in people, and you have to be patient. That's the big P word, right? So when I hired my ClickFunnels team out, right, it was pretty interesting. There was a lead. There was sort of the CEO that managed the team, or sort of oversaw the team. And he said to me, our team is good. Like, our team is good. You're going to be happy. But it's going to take some time for them to understand what it is that you expect of them. Okay? So what we did is I met with the lead designer once a week for like the first month and a half. Okay? And as the jobs were coming back and they were sort of, like you said, they weren't 100% up to my standard, I would clearly articulate to him the why it wasn't, right? Yeah. And one of the things that he said to me up front, and I'll never forget this, he said, for us to really truly understand what it is that you want from us and the expectation you want from us, it's going to take about 60 to 100 hours. And that really helped me stay patient. Because every time I would get a little flustered, I'd say, we're not at the 100-hour mark yet.
It's okay. Yeah, I like that.
Right? And so what happened was I stayed patient. I was very articulate with my revisions and my changes. I did a lot of screen flow videos, because now this is a team out in India, and I don't hide that from anybody. I tell all of my clients, I have a 16-person team on 4 different continents.
Wicked. Yeah. I've got no problem with that. Yeah.
I tell them straight up. And so I did make sure that all of my team members understood English and could speak English. Okay. So I had some prerequisites here, Duncan, that I made sure that before I hired anybody, they passed those tests. Right. So now, creating those screencast videos and showing them exactly yes, it was daunting in the beginning, but I can promise you that when we got to that 100-hour mark,
things were in flow.
They were killing it. Yeah, and like now I don't even, I graze and I look and I make sure that everything is buttoned up. But now my project manager does a lot of that legwork for me. And she calls time out before it even gets to me.
Yeah, good.
Which is really
there's a filter, so then you're not getting flustered over unnecessarily crap day to day, right?
Right. Pam is now my filter, and Pam will flag it before I even see it. So now when it comes to me, Pam knows the shit better be tight. Right?
Literally, yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things that my team tells me all the time, because they're used to working with the consumer directly, right? They said the one thing that I love about working with you, Henry, is you're a fellow designer.
Oh yeah, there's an understanding straight away, right?
Right. And so I took that and said, okay, how do I create this family orientation in this business? How do I create this culture where they know if they're struggling with something, they can come to me, sort of like the open door policy, if you will. And so I create that culture right away. So the thing that helps to build that culture is our town hall meetings every 2 weeks. So we do a town hall meeting every 2 weeks. And what that town hall meeting is it's all of us on Zoom, and it's a huge team. And basically what we do is I have an agenda. I go through the agenda, and then I open it up to discussion, and whoever has something to say, they say it, and they're not afraid to say it. And we've built this beautiful culture where now when we have those town hall meetings, I'm not the only one trying to develop content strategy.
Yeah.
I have 16 other folks coming to me going, hey, Henry, have you tried this? Or, one thing that's lacking on our site right now, and you notice how they call it our site?
Ours. Yeah, there's all of a sudden they feel a part of it.
Right. And this is something that we executed recently. So one of the things that I did not have on my site for many, many years was a case study section. I had testimonials, but I didn't have case studies.
Yep.
And so they were like, we really need to implement a case study section on the site. Like, it's really going to show your work and
the quality and the output. 100%.
Right. And what the pain points were, what was the strategy, what was the solution, what was the outcome, right? And so Pam actually brought it up, and she says, if we can execute that, we're gonna win. So my wheels start turning, and I'm like, all right, what do we do? So what I do is, and this is part of my, I never used it as part of my selling, but I now use it. So now when I'm onboarding a client or prospecting a client, they ask me what are the deliverables and all that. And I say, at the end of the process, you actually go through an exit review, right? And what that is actually a brand showcase. We actually do a brand showcase via Facebook Live with you and I on the call, on the video. And we actually showcase your brand to my entire audience. And they get chills, they get goosebumps. And they absolutely love that because I have a big audience. I have a decent sized audience now. So when they can get that exposure, they're like, okay, that's a piece of value.
Yeah, 100%. That's the whole point of us doing the healthy thinking side of it, right? Can we create a community that we can offer to promote our own, it's just a no-brainer. Love it. All for that.
Yeah.
What about the venting and stuff? So let's use, say in development, costs compared to the UK, and I'm sure it's very much the same in US, is Filipino or Indian developers are way cheaper. Like it's just, a no-brainer. And to be fair, and a lot of times their education and knowledge, because they have no other choice but to live and breathe it, can be a lot higher. But with communication, and I know you've sort of said you make sure everyone's, that the English is really, really well. We've done 2 projects that will literally cost us 60K more to do them here than it did to outsource. So these are 100K sort of web projects. Mm-hmm. But the first one, we weren't controlling. DS Creative wasn't managing the. We did all the strategy, the design. We weren't managing the development. The client was doing that directly, but they went with the cheaper Indian source, and it ended up just being abysmal. Now I've outsourced other little bits and pieces, and it does have a bad name, and it only takes a bad experience to get a sour taste. So I guess from a cost point of view, I'm able to sometimes send things back to New Zealand, and I can go to sleep and get work back when I wake up. Great model when I need things done quickly. So for that whole, multi-continental sort of agency, I'm totally on board. I really like that. But I guess the vetting system, when you're not there on the ground to test these people out, like how did you get comfortable selecting them? Was it purely on people and energy? Because I know you can pick up a lot from a conversation, but sometimes the proof's in the pudding, so to speak.
Great question. So what I did was I interviewed each and every one of them before I hired them. And it was a Skype call. I made them see my face. I wasn't
100%.
Right? I made them see my face, and I wanted to see their face. And I wanted to see how they presented themselves. It was a job interview, Duncan.
Of course it is.
It was a straight up job interview.
Yeah.
So what I did was I communicated my value. I communicated what I loved and what I hated. And I said, does this align with your values? Yes or no? And the ones that said yes, they're still with me, right? The ones that gave me sort of a cockamamie answer, I didn't even hire them. Now, the next thing I did was I said, listen, we have to do a little practice run here. If you like it, great. If not, thank you for your interest. I will seek another candidate.
Yep.
So I said, do me a favor. I want you to design me a business card, front and back. You could use dummy text, I don't care. For a consultant. I gave them very minimal information, right? Yep. I wanted to see how creative they could be, right? And they said, well, normally I don't do work without being hired. Okay, thanks, nice meeting you. Goodbye.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's on your terms, right?
Right. But the ones that said, all right, give me 20, and then I said, I need it back in 24 hours. There's so many things psychologically going down here, Duncan, right? Mm-hmm. So how bad do they want it? Are they serious? How do they value turnaround time? There's 1,000 things that I could list that just by them executing my task in 24 hours tells me a lot about them. So the team that I have now, they never batted an eye. They came back and the work was premium. The work was just stellar. And I said, you're hired.
Cool.
And that was that. And so I can tell you there's one designer on the team that makes me look like Mickey Mouse. And I'm not
That's what you want, man.
And I'm not afraid to admit that.
Good.
Right?
Yep.
So
surround yourself by people better, every time. Because you're only going to learn from that, right? Then you get prouder and more pumped especially when you're presenting the work, right? You just get more energy and more excitement for what it is,
Yeah.
And it's yours at the end of the day. It's the
exactly. So what you want to do is you really want to articulate your value system to them.
Totally on board with that. Yep.
Right. And tell them, we value turnaround time because the quicker and explain to them. And this is how I do it. The quicker we can get a project completed and over to our client, the quicker they can start to make money with it. And that's why they hire our firm. They want us to make their lives more convenient. They want a great customer experience. So if we could provide that to them, we're going to have customers forever.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
In the early days, were they full-time, are you hiring them as full-time staff in the early days, or were you using them as an external resource as and when the work sort of flowed through? Because I guess at the moment, we're doing all the work ourselves that we can save and put that money really sensibly across we are, so that when we're in a position to get that first hire, we've got a year's worth of salary there for them. So it's just, there's a safety net there. At the moment, that's why the freelancing is great, but in London, it can be, obviously the same. It's an expensive way to do it. So going externally for a full-time staff member, I realize that's great because you can train them, they can be there. Were you still going externally for in and out freelance in the early days as well?
I was. I hired a few people that didn't last a month, right?
Yep.
There was some guys and some gals that came in, they lasted a day because their portfolio did not match the actual work. That was another big insight that I found, where people were putting great portfolio work out there, and then when you actually hired them, it was rubbish.
Yeah. And
so
that's hiring them on a project to do like a few days work on something, as opposed to, or you're not talking full-time hires.
No, it wasn't full-time hires. Yeah, it wasn't full-time hires. So what was happening was the work that wasn't coming back with quality, and it was consistently not coming back with quality, we shook hands and we sent them on their way.
Yeah, you got to move fast in that situation, right? Cool.
Very, very quickly. It's like I have sort of a 2 strikes you're out, not a 3 strikes you're out, because I can't afford that 3rd strike. So, and I tell them that up front. And they're okay with that. So again, communication, Duncan, is so key when it comes to building your team. If they feel valued, and I'm gonna give you another tip here that in a minute that's really gonna build this culture out for you. So with that said, yeah, they were sort of, I never said full time to them. I said, as needed, I can promise you, maybe 10 hours a week. Like, I kept it really, really low at first.
Yep.
And then
and you can scale it because the work's there, right?
Exactly. So that's how it started. And then when they just kept coming back with stellar work, they kept getting more work. Right.
It's real confidence for me just to hear. And this is, again, it only takes a few sort of sour grapes to fall before you sort of rules things like that out. Like to have someone with a real positive journey through that external source. Because sometimes, when, especially as coming from myself, who's always been agency side, so we've come from different backgrounds to get here. You're self-taught. I've come a different route. I'm so used to having people there where I can look over their shoulder. Like at any point I can walk past their screen and go, and I can see straight away and go, look, I don't want you to waste any more time going down that route. I know what you're trying to do. I can see where it's going, but that's not you're on the wrong path there. Switch or come, and yeah, to have good experiences from that external, which is really handing over a lot of that. You're enlisting a lot more responsibility when people are A, offshore, or B, you're not there to see them, or they're not there to answer that quick question. And again, time differences come into it a little bit, right? They can't just pick up Skype and jump on and you're there, because some of the time, half the day you're asleep. So it's good to hear someone that's had a real positive, because that opens my mind back up a little bit to how do we get through this interim period, and not necessarily, it's like our costs, we're having that wonderful growing pains, right? Our jobs coming in and we're busy as hell, but the external costs mount. Like I said, I had 4 designers sitting in here. Now you're spending £300 to £400 a day on designers, and you got 4 of them here for, but things get big. As a startup, they're taking more home than we're taking home. So, yeah, we've created, which is fine. It's all part of the journey, right? But it's nice to hear that side of it, because that just gives us a few more options back on the table to go, right, on the next one, we could start venting on make-believe projects like you did, so we can get those people in place or to find them out before the real deal stuff hits, so that we can, because there's nothing worse than going, shit, we need someone next week and it's got to start, and we haven't been through that process. So cool.
Right. And so what I want to reinforce here is this, and this I learned from my master's degree and going through that graduate program. I had some really, really great professors, and the one professor who was like in charge of the whole master's program, he was sort of the dean. He was the dean. He said, when you make your team feel valued and feel part of a bigger purpose, you will have them forever. As if you make them feel valued and truly care about them as people and not just workhorses, that's going to go a long way for you in the long run. So let me give you a quick example. I was at CNBC, did this event in New York City last year. And they interviewed like 6 or 7 really, really successful entrepreneurs. Damon John was there, and we were able to ask them any questions that we wanted. And there was this Asian guy there that had a company called Boxed, BOXED.com. And I think one of his big competitors are Amazon. Like, so anyway, he doesn't give raises. He doesn't give raises to his employees. What he does is he incentivizes them in other ways. For example, he paid for one of his employees' weddings. He paid for one of his employees' tuition. He went and he did these other things, right?
Speaking straight to their lifestyle and how that he could give value to their life, not just in a quick paycheck of some sort of remuneration. That's
right. So I was almost in tears, and that was a big aha for me. So I'm sitting in the freaking conference, and I message my project manager, and I go, and I know she has 2 kids. I said, "What would your kids love to do this year?" And she said, to go to Disney World, like in Singapore.
Yep.
And I was like, or was it Singapore? Where the hell was it? I think it was Singapore. It was an Asian country.
Yep.
And I said, okay, good to know. And I said, well, how much would a flight be for that? So she starts like, why are you asking me all these questions for? You're weird. And I said, no, listen, I know it sounds weird, but just do some homework for me. So she had a friend who was a travel agent. So she comes back to me and she says, the cost for room and board, the cost for the flights would be, and shit, at the long run, looking at a big picture, it cost me about $1,100 for her and her 2 kids to go for like 3 nights.
Yeah.
I said, send me the bill. You're going.
Love it. Yeah, I love it. That's how you create lasting. It's a deeper relationship, right? I know culture must be really hard when the people aren't there around you every day to pick up on that energy, to pick up on everything. So you've got to try and build culture and create, I just say what you sort of said, termed the family, family feel to it.
Yeah. Now you don't do that with somebody you just hired for a month.
No, of course not.
Oh, yeah.
It shows a different understanding, right? Like that's so much more valuable than what that same amount would be written to a check and just handed to her on a Christmas with a card saying, great work this year. It doesn't have any of the depth of passion, understanding, care. Yeah.
And it's a people to people. You have to think that way. Just like the customer experience you want to give to your client, there's a whole internal branding culture that you have to pay attention to too. And when you're not, when there's a disconnect between, or there's a bad seed, right? They got to go, and they got to go fast because they spread like cancer. Mm-hmm. And so, I luckily I didn't have any of that inside of my culture because I'm just too quick with it. Like if they're giving me lip, they're out. Like, You know what I mean? And Pam actually hired who'd she hire? She hired a Google Ads person to help us run some Google Ads. And the woman just kept talking back to Pam, and like not just, and so Pam was like, I had to let the girl go, but I'm in the process of replacing her, and I didn't even know she left. So Pam, and that's the power of having a great project manager. She was just like, I wasn't resonating with this woman, and she just kept combating me, and I'm right.
So it's dragging you down. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So that's that. So as far as building that culture internally, and then the other thing, again, you got to have patience with these guys and gals, and you got to make them feel like they're part of a big picture. And without them, you can't do what you do. And that's 1,000% true. I tell them every single meeting, if it wasn't for you guys, I would not be able to do what we do today.
Yeah, of course.
Right. Gary Vaynerchuk has a great approach too. He says, I work for you.
Well, he's people. I mean, as far as you want to put people first, that's what I really love about, Gary. I think I hope he wins. I hope he wins big time. I'm a massive fan, and that's not just because he's the man of the moment or anything. I've been watching him for years. I just think there's just a humbleness to what really matters boils down to a few people on one hand. And if their health and everything that's what really matters, then everything after that,
Yeah.
Yes. But then having a heart, a leader of a heart, what does he name his human resources, is it's just about people first. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, and putting the people in the right places. So, for example, I had a designer who I delegated a few jobs to him, and I wanted him to build out some homepage website designs, right? And it just wasn't his strong point. And then I have Malika, who that's all she does is homepage, landing page design, and she is a rock star at it. What Drew's really good at is like the social media identity. He can create images like that just look outstanding, and he could do it with his eyes closed. So I said, Drew, I'm going to put you in a position that's going to make you just explode. So you're going to get all the social media identity, and Malika's going to do all the homepage design, and she's going to do all the build out of the pages. You cool with that? Absolutely. Put me in a place where I can strive, and you'll watch them just their whole skill set increases by like 70%. Like the client, like Malika right now, I told her over the past year, I've seen your skill set go through the roof. And you got to remember to tell these people this, like, you know, you may be thinking it in your head, but you're not communicating.
Oh, yes.
Right? So I want to make sure that we get to all your questions today. So
yep. I think that probably jumped into the second one, actually, because the second one was all about, you know, how you've set your team and how you've really done that, particularly in the early days. So I think that covers that. If we went back to that question 2, what did that sort of consultancy look like at the start, particularly taking away, you know, the wider team and the amount of, you know, or let's say the amount of content you do today, the diversity of all of that. So in the earlier stages, like let's say I'm not going to be able to get to setting my own website or something to put that together for probably another, let's be realistic, 3 months. Okay, I can't start tomorrow. We've got too much on, but that's the goal, and that's why I've sort of said these are 24-month goals. But I want to start thinking right, start getting excited right, and getting all that energy and momentum building up now. What did that output and things look like for you first, as far as, yes, there's content production and advertising yourself, but there's also, what did the channels look like? Like now you've got a load of products, right? You've got tiered products to build to. What were the early ones? Because obviously I can't do everything at once either. I think creating an incredible website that's going to, you know, have what we spoke about last week, you know, the right messages in the right places with, okay, it's nice to hear you didn't start with case studies, because obviously I won't have the consultancy case studies necessarily to launch with, and nor do other people, to be fair, in that sector. But what were your offerings in the early days, or do you wish you had have done that one a little bit earlier than you did?
So the early offerings to help me build up some content, some recurring revenue was a subscription model of some sort.
Because I think with coaching and stuff, it's like you've sort of said, you can't do anything in 2 or 3 calls, right? It does take a few months to bed, and particularly a bit different for me, where I can maybe, even though I haven't really the time, can do the execution. But when you're helping a lot of people, there's execution stuff that then comes on the back of what you're suggesting in the strategy.
That's right.
Okay. So I'm just, that might have been jumping ahead a little bit. I was trying to.
Yeah. So I will tell you this, the consultancy arm was a very trickled in sort of deliverable. So I've had people, I would say some insightful things on Facebook, inside Facebook groups, so on and so forth. And then I would have somebody private message me and say, do you, how much would you charge for an hour of your time?
Cool. Because that's, I think I'm getting the same sort of, especially through Instagram already. And we're, you know, I haven't got the audience you do, but, you know, straight away with the agency side and even my own, the amount of genuine leads that you're starting to get through is becoming awesome. I go, all right, well, I've got to have what you have in place. It's right. Cool. You want to talk to me? Here's a link, go through this funnel, and straight away, rather than, and I don't want to be selfish, but time at the moment is so precious, especially with the agency. I can't sit there giving away free time to try and get someone in to sell them. So I want to have those pain points or those paying points straight away.
So do this. You want to set up a funnel where it's $100 to talk to you for 30 minutes.
Yeah. You've got Calendly, so even before you did the ClickFunnels, did you use Calendly for those sorts of things and just integrate PayPal and that, or did you actually do that through a...
I only used ClickFunnels. I didn't use anything prior.
Okay.
So So you weed out a tremendous amount of tire kicker when you put that $100 price point there. And 9 times out of 10, Duncan, I'm gonna tell you right now, because they invested that $100, you're not making money. That $100 goes to ad spend. That $100,
of course,
right? Yep. But what that does is it makes them committed. They've already committed $100 to you. And I can tell you right now, 60 to 80% close rate on that call.
Coming through the coaching.
Coming through into the control. And now I don't even, if somebody comes to me and says, I want you to just design me a logo, we don't do that anymore. We just don't do it.
Yep.
Right? So we offer the strategy, we offer the discovery first. And if they don't want to take that, then I refer them to a partner who just does logo work.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
But I get it. Your time is valuable. So what you do is you send them to the link. This is it's an introductory discovery call. It's $100. We're going to find out if we're a good fit or not. You're going to leave there with some insight and some direction. And I'd be happy to help you. Yes or no. And if they say no, then you just saved yourself a half an hour of time.
Yeah, cool. So that's what I've started to write out. So I think I've got a clear understanding of once they come in, what would those 3-month coaching sessions be like? These aren't, this is all my planning on what I'd be doing in the background. Like what would, based on my experiences, my best valued propositions be around? So say the brand building or the content strategies to help them on that sort of side of it. But I guess the question is going back to did you have products in place? Because even our time at that point, that's more of a service offering, right? Did you have services products running? It's
funny. I didn't have any products. I just had all my services, right? And then so they either bought the consulting or they bought my service. And what I remember is once I got the continuity in place, I had enough money to build out my first course, and that's where the content came in. I'm sorry, that's where the first product came in, but it was garbage. It was crap. Yeah, I only sold a couple.
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, I only sold.
You got to start, yeah.
But I kept the framework, and it wasn't until a month ago, or I'm sorry, not even a month ago. It was like 2 weeks ago. I went back in. I had my team rebrand that course, and I had now hundreds of videos of content. I plugged in all new content into the course and relaunched the course for $500.
Yeah, but it looks a whole nother level because you've already got the stuff that you've been able to produce on the back.
Oh yeah, it's sick now. So I want to make sure that I'm answering this question like in full value mode here. So it was when you started shifting your business from pure design to consultancy in the early, what it looked like. Yeah, I mean, it was just one-off. It was just like 1 hour at a clip, right? And then here's what I wanted to tell you, Duncan. I don't know I think you're going to be banging your head against that brick wall of yours over there if you try to develop a curriculum right out of the gate, because you're going to have so many people coming to you for strategy and consulting, and it's going to be different for each client because each client may have a different pain point.
Oh, yep, for sure.
Right? So what I would do is I would structure it like the way we are structuring our calls, because I don't know what you're going to come to me in 2 weeks with. Yeah. Right? So keep it open-ended.
Yep. Okay. That kind of does make sense, rather than sort of going, Now
I'll give you some structure to these calls. Now, so follow my lead. So you record the call.
Yeah.
You provide the recording to the client, and then you follow up with a email with all sort of the bullet points that you from the call, right? And if there's anything extra, say after the call, there's a great book that he should read about this, right? Give him the link to the book. That's all added value. It's all added.
I like that. Yeah. Don't necessarily create a curriculum, because it's not going to be a recipe that's going to work for everyone. Everyone has different challenges. Everyone will be at different levels. That makes sense.
Right. So you want to make sure that when you get the customer, you want to make sure that you have some sort of questionnaire. I'll give you some tactical stuff now. You want to have some sort of questionnaire that finds what it is that they're struggling with. So now you have some leverage on the call, on the introductory call.
Yeah.
Right. Because now they're calling you for a reason, and you're a problem solver. So you gotta talk to those pains, and you either have a solution for them or you don't. Right. As long as you position yourself as the trusted advisor, as the fiduciary, as the guide, again, like I told you on our last call, just be there to guide, right? And don't be there and say, "Oh, I need this coaching client, or else, we're not."
No, definitely not. I think it's that wanting to help others, right? And I just feel like there's something, now that I've gone off and I'm not, I've got my own time now to be able to do this sort of thing. I reckon this is something I'd be built for. I think that saying that energy, that point of view, that understanding the landscape as a designer, coming like from that background as well, learning and moving into strategy and having that execution, and then getting so hot on the fact of what does content marketing and creating, content look like in today's world, the Gary V, the amount of people that are out there doing that sort of thing. And it feels like the next natural progression for me as an individual, not for the agency. And that's where I'm quite pumped to try and set that up. And it's particularly knowing that there's no one here really owning that space, not to the level that you guys are, where you are. And don't get me wrong, it's still a global offering,
sure.
But to be on the ground is something quite nice as well, to be able to, target and own and wrap myself around London as a branding expert, because that credentials in our background, it's not jumping on a bandwagon because we're 20 years old and we think this is the next thing. It's the next progression on that journey for myself. And that's where I think, the credibility and stuff will come through. The execution we know is there. It's just the innocence from me around, and being humble around, well, I don't know how to build a business. I've never had to do that from I know how to build brands and build equity for brands, but not a business. It's different to running the shop yourself, right? Mm-hmm. So again, as another money stream, that's where I think the consultancy is going to be really great, that I can leverage all the things that, and all the people and all the team, it's all the same creative output, particularly when it's not just the strategy. When you go, right, you need a brand presence. Now it's not just a logo, because then you need the content on the back of that. What are you producing, and understanding those landscapes? I feel like I get quite pumped to be, I think, they're 5 years ahead of where you are and where I want to be, knowing that I haven't even started that yet, but I get quite pumped going there. I think that's a really key why, if I put 3 things down I want to achieve in the next 2 years, so in 2 years' time we're starting to turn all these things up. I'm not thinking that this happens overnight, but that gets, fucking exciting, doesn't it?
I love it. No, I can feel the energy coming through. And so
I was just going to say, what about the content production for yourself? So, okay, you started, I think that was a great start question for straight away. It was services only, which being your time, you didn't actually have the products yet. So I can set this up very well with that as an understanding. As slowly as I said, it's not going to happen tomorrow. What about the content production to actually promote yourself as the doer, not just you've got to walk the walk a little bit, right? So from a podcasting point of view, a videoing, putting out daily content, you obviously have the emailers, you must have writers around you. What's the landscape now is obviously very different to when it was just you starting off. So
right.
To strip back, what was it like early, or what did you maybe wish you had have done sooner?
Hire the specialists right away, straight away. Hire the specialists straight away. So when I know I needed a strategist to get out of the commodity rat race of design, I went and I sought out a strategist. When I struggled for the first 3 times, it took me 3 times to realize that I needed a copywriter, and I was not a copywriter, right? Yeah. I was taking on these jobs, and I'll be very transparent. I was taking on these jobs thinking that I could do it all.
Yeah,
and I realized,
time. You just don't have the energy, or it's just not happening.
Oh my God. The minute I sat down and I tried to write a headline for a landing page, I was like, oh my God, what do I do? So I reached out to Russell Brunson, because he was coaching me at the time one-on-one. Yep. And I said, Russ, I need a copywriter, man. I'm by no means a copywriter. So he referred me to somebody. The guy's been working for me for 5 years.
Nice.
Yeah. I don't even he knows my voice so well. I literally give him, I still put in, because he has a process too. And I hate to break people's processes because I hate when people try to break them with me. Yeah, but I still follow his process. But man, you got to feel the copy. He just wrote the copy for he just rewrote all the copy on my website. I was just blown away. And that's just nice. 5 years of relationship.
Yeah.
Right? So you hire the copywriter, you hire the strategist, you hire the videographer. I had a guy in Chicago who I became really, really, really good friends with. And I asked him, do you use anybody for video, like quick video edits, He says, yeah, use my guy. Check him out. I hired him for a couple of things. He was a little rough around the edges. I said, but his turnaround time was ridiculous and he was really, really reliable. So I said, I'm going to work with this guy. I'm going to invest in him. And I would do the videos and explainer videos. And eventually the guy got me. And he's been on the team now 3.5 years. So now I'm just, and so my YouTube person who's covering all my YouTube publications and doing all of the keywords and all that stuff, same thing. I don't know how to do. I know how to do that shit, but it's not a good use of my time.
Not your time. Yeah, that's where I'm struggling. I'm trying to do too much. I think I said that last time, and we're both killing ourselves. Now, great early days, great that we can, but this isn't the recipe moving forward. So it's knowing what to put off. So I'd even just looking at, especially the video stuff, because I haven't really started to put that out there. Looking at just even getting an intern, again, being a designer, you get a bit too precious, and therefore you wait for things to be perfect, and therefore Gary says this all the time, right? Then people just don't do. You end up just, I wish I had done that video and you've been saying that for 3, 4, 5, 6 months rather than just getting someone in and doing it. Yeah, fucking just do it already. Yeah. So it's a bit being humble and just trying to eat my words a little bit, but just get people in and get stuff. I've got to start this year. And this whole point of getting you on board is how to work quicker.
Yeah.
Now
that's the quickest way. The quickest way is to hire the specialists, not the generalists. So you hire the person, and here's the thing that I really want to stress with you, because this is sort of my growing pain too. In the past, I've hired a lot of the wrong people. And the reason why I hired the wrong people, because I didn't ask the right questions. And you may be better at this than me, but this was a learned process for me. And my mentor taught me, he has a very critical and analytical brother. And he'll go to his brother and he'll say, I just hired this awesome coach. And the brother will say, well, what makes him awesome? And my mentor will be like, well, I don't really know. He
don't know yet.
Right. And right away, it's like, so now it's like, the reason why you hired me is because I'm a few chapters ahead of you. The reason why I hired my mentor is because he's a few chapters ahead of me. And it's just a line. We're all in this line going that way, and we all just fit. It just didn't happen yet for us. That's all. But I can only tell you to ask the right questions. Can you provide me examples? What kind of results did you get for your clients? And just ask the right questions, right? Good
with that. Yep, good with that. What about from a output point of view? Is there something that you wish you had done earlier? So let's say, I know you said this year you're going to put a lot more into your YouTube channel. You've obviously got the podcast there. I probably don't want to do the podcast because I want to save that for the healthy thinking content site, because Kate's not as comfortable to be in front of the camera as I know I will be or I am. And so I think there's a great podcast that we're going to do. That's part of that strategy. So that's the healthy thinking. The agency, that's just going to be generally pushing out stuff around ourselves. But I want to be the owner of the DS Creative, the consultancy will be where a lot of my content starts to come through. Do you think that the podcast was an easier one for you to do as opposed to the video? So that was just a no-brainer?
Everything's easy, Duncan, now, because I have the execution doing it for me.
Yeah. So that's what I'm trying to get to take yourself back.
Yeah. All right. So going back, I withheld doing a podcast for about a half a year because the production of it is just ridiculous. Yep. And then finally, it was like, it just fell from the sky, Duncan. One of my clients said, I have a podcast production team. If you want to try us out, we could do 4 a month for you for X amount of dollars. And we'll give it a whirl. I said, all right, what do I need to do? He said, well, you're a designer, so you could probably design all the covers and all of that yourself. I said, yeah, I could do that. He said, then other than that, we just got to you got to get me these 4 covers in these dimensions, and you got to just start producing the damn podcast and send me the audio and we'll do all the rest. And that was that. And so I went from 4 a month to 20 a month.
Yeah.
And that was that. And now I've been doing it for almost a year now. So as far as the videos go, same thing. You get into a rhythm and it starts to become like it's like starting a locomotive. It's a little small, it's a little slow when you start, and then all of a sudden that locomotive starts to get momentum, and now it's just, now try to stop that locomotive. It's
hard.
Right? It's very, very hard. So there really wasn't any difficulty between podcast or video. It was just like, all right, you have to get this all done, right? So how do you do it? How do you figure this out? So I'm going to leave you with this because I have about 4 minutes until I got to jump on my mentorship call with my mentor. What I realized was, how do I become omnipresent? And omnipresent means, how can I be on many places and like do the same thing, do it once, but be on many different platforms. So if you notice, I don't know if you noticed this yet, because I don't know if we're Facebook friends, but I do my podcast episodes live on Facebook.
Okay.
Right? And then I get that video produced and that goes on my YouTube. And then I get that audio produced and that becomes my podcast. I could actually take it a step further, get it transcribed and have my copywriter post it as a blog.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I haven't gone that because my emails, and here's how I do it. My emails that you get every day, those get blogged.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
Right. Yeah. So that's how I make things a little bit easier and get more bang for my buck.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. And that's exactly how I'd have to start. That's how I would be thinking of, right, what's the even if it was writing the blog first, if the writer was brilliant, Kate's a brilliant writer, and then we use that as the base to then do the recording for it's omnipresent. So 100% get it.
You're right.
Cool.
So,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and so this is great. Way more focused today than last time.
I actually watched that video over. I was a bit pissed off with myself because I was obviously had a hard night. I was a bit rough and rugged around the edges, and I think I was potentially, because I'd never really done one like this before, I was just going in to go, right, let me just brain dump on you what we're doing, and then it ends up being unfocused, and I was just fucking all over the show. And it's just, I sort of watched that again and went, okay, I need to be, if I'm going to get more out of you or to give you a chance to be able to give me something, I've got to,
So we're going to follow suit. We're going to follow suit the same way on our next call. You're going to provide 3 questions to me up front. It could be the day of, it doesn't matter. This was fine the way you did it. And then we'll hammer out those 3 questions. That's the best way to stay focused and direct the call and provide the best value for you, because then you'll be able to execute on what it is that I said, and move forward, in a much strategic way.